Good day, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. It's Kyle here with a Theta price action update. And an itchy eye. Oh man, that's one itchy sight ball. Anyhow, we're gonna do a price action update on Theta. I have already recorded a T-Fuel update, so watch for that later today, as well as a Bitcoin one. I'll be releasing those soon. If you're new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tick that bell for notifications if you appreciate a balanced approach to the market. I don't typically do moon boy behavior here, and I don't do doom boy behavior as well, and I have nothing against moon boys or doom boys. All ideas are welcome. It's ideas that make the markets work as well as they do. Anyhow, with no further delays, let's get into the video. And here we have Theta up on the daily chart in TradingView, and Theta has come down and tested my first area of interest right here, coming in around $6.40 approximately, and that's the area I spoke about in the last video. And basically what I was saying is if we start getting some candle body closures below that level, then likely it's going to be initiating some more downside for Theta. And as you can see, so far Theta has caught a bounce here. We got those wicks down below, no closures, and we are getting a bit of a bounce off that area. Not the most significant bounce that I've ever seen, however, a bounce nonetheless. Now, if Theta does begin to close down below that level at $6.40, I do think it's going to be probable that it works its way down to some lower price levels. However, I don't think Theta is necessarily going to do that on its own. I think a lot of this is going to depend on Bitcoin coming into the new trading week, as well as the rest of the market. I don't think Theta on its own is going to start closing below that level and then just absolutely dump to the downside. But that is the level on this chart specifically that I'm watching for initiation of those downside moves. Now, to recap from last video, if that is to take place, then the first area that I'm looking for, a tiny bounce, would likely be here on the 377 coming in at $5.27. But I do think over time that ultimately Theta would work its way back down to this liquid zone right here, which has the top side coming in around that $4 mark, and then the bottom side coming in around $3.50 that I've spoken about several times. And I do think at least a bounce from that area would likely be in the cards. And again, I'll continue to respect that area as an area to potentially reverse this chart if price action does take the southern route with the rest of the market. Getting closures below that level that's when I begin to look down to these lower levels here around that $2.50 mark that you've heard a lot of people talk about. But again, I don't look for those levels until I see a condition met within the chart, because I typically don't like to get faked out by wicks. I mean, you see all these wicks faking out the 0.5 over here, and then price action ultimately rolls to the downside. You see the wicks getting up above this liquid zone on the all-time high, and then basically that was the beginning of the overall downtrend. So again, I look for those closures. Closures to me are very confidence-inducing that the sellers are no longer present there. It becomes highly probable. Not a guarantee, but it's a lot more probable than watching these wicks come in real time thinking this is it, only to get shish kebabbed to the downside. So just over time, doing a lot of trading within these markets and investing in these markets, I've just learned to never front run these areas, to look for the closures and then use that as my bias to the upside or to the downside. And of course, it is notable that Theta is still in this overall macro downtrend, and we certainly want to see that get resolved. And for me, that gets resolved at this level, as I was talking about in my last video, the 0.5, getting closures up above that $9.70, $9.50 would be a significant change of behavior here. You know, last 4 times it tried that back here, all wicks, rejection to the downside. So to see closures begin to happen around that level, that's when this chart starts to look really good for the long term once more. Right now, we're simply in lower high territory, and Theta is looking a little bit droopy right now. But again, just as a consequence likely of the rest of the market. But so far, it is holding up above this level here, so we'll give it a chance and see what happens from there. Looking at the RSI here, we do see that the RSI has been rejected 3 times off the bullish control zone here. Usually I look for at least one rejection after a major retrace like this. You see the RSI coming way down, gets into the oversold critical level here, catches a really nice bounce alongside the rest of the market. And typically on first pass of the bullish control zone, I do look for rejection. But now we have 3 at the time of recording, and we do see that the RSI has lost the exponential, angled to the downside with a negative slope on the exponential as well. It is in the neutral zone, so it could ping pong between the bearish control zone here as well as the bullish control zone for some time before building up a stronger case for more upside momentum. But as of right now, we are seeing a few rejections at the edge of the bullish control zone. Stochastics here, nosediving, getting back in the bearish control zone, so certainly pressure down. Again, it's gonna depend on the rest of the market, and this is a Sunday, and with CMEs opening later today, as well as Wall Street opening for the week tomorrow morning, things can get pretty wild and crazy, and that will likely set the tone for the alt sector for the most part coming into the next week here. MACD has a fresh cross to the downside. Moving averages are still above the zero read of the y-axis, but the histogram is signaling some solid negative momentum right now at the time of recording. And down below here on the HVP, we do see it getting right down to very critical levels here. We see that the exponential is pretty much in a nosedive right now, and typically what I look for is I look for the volatility to be flatline, pretty much what it is right now. I look for the moving average to coil in, and then I look for a break above that moving average on expanding volatility, and that usually signifies how strong that move could be. Again, this isn't the volatility isn't going to give you direction, but it can signal how strong that direction is going to be when price action determines that. So we do see volatility really coiling up right now. Again, you can see that with the moving averages as well. You see the moving averages getting really close, like coiling in on one another, and that is another signal that some volatility could be stepping in sometime soon. We're looking at a daily chart, so it doesn't have to happen right away. Could it happen in this upcoming week? Absolutely, it certainly could. But it could take a couple weeks for all we know. I don't typically put timelines on these kinds of things, but when you go back in time here, you can see when the moving averages begin to coil right here. You get quite the spring to the upside in this case here. And again, you see it here. You see them coiling in here. Boom, big move to the downside. Coiling in here. Boom, big move to the upside. So we are getting into that territory where be on the lookout for a fairly significant move sometime soon. We also see that price action continues to get rejected for the most part from the white 200 simple moving average. We do see some closures coming in up above there, but coughing it right back up. The following day here. Again, close up above here, faked out to the downside. So at the time of recording, the 200 simple is still very much harassing price action. You'll remember on my analysis when we got the closure back here, I was saying caution, likely a little bit of upside, and then a big move to the downside. And indeed, that's what we got. So what we want to see is price action get above that 200, begin to close up above it, flip it back into support, and then we want to see the moving averages start to get back up above it as well and begin to chase price action. So those are some things to certainly keep on your radar as we move forward. My conditions to the upside remain exactly the same right now. I'm looking for candle body closures first and foremost above the 0.382. As you can see, if we start getting candle body closures above that level, we'll also be closing back up above that 200 simple. That's very positive step number one, and that comes in at around the $8.25 mark. So candle body closures above there, then the big area will be the next area. I think that will be initiated at that point in time. And again, that's the 0.5. I really want to see some daily candle bodies closing above $9.70, $9.50 in that area there. Getting closures there and flipping that area into support, then I think a macro reversal would be looking quite probable at that time. And that's when I begin to look at some long-term upside price targets once more. Again, I think this is going to be heavily dependent upon the rest of the market. So let's keep our eyes on Bitcoin. Let's keep our eyes on the sentiment of the market as we come into a new trading week, and we'll see what happens. And of course, I'll bring updates as updates become available. Thanks so much for coming by and checking out this video. Hope you're all doing well. Looking forward to seeing the next one. And until I do, have yourself a powerful day.